and one who has frequently joined us here on CVM TV to help Jamaicans understand the complex forces shaping our economy. Thanks again, Mr. McKeown.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations all the time. Tonight's program has been about the power of leadership, the power to shape a child's experience, the power to maintain public trust in our institutions, and the power to inspire others through personal excellence. With leadership comes responsibility. And whether we are educators, politicians, public servants, or community builders, the standard by which we are ultimately judged is not the authority we hold, but the people we impact. That is the story. I'm Nika Lewis, and on behalf of the entire CVM production team, I thank you so much for watching Lead Story, and we'll have the news at the top of the hour.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's Friday, July 3, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is spending today in Portland for a series of engagements focused on housing, infrastructure and urban renewal. Our reporter Kevin Black is on location and now brings us the latest. Kevin?
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is today in Portland in Hope Bay, Canewood, where he will be handing over a new house to a resident under the new social housing program and also unveiling the Canewood Spark Road project. After this, he will head to Port Antonio, the parish's capital, where he will be having a meeting with the Port Authority and also having a tour of the Boundary Urban Center. CVM News is on location and will provide you with timely updates during the course of the day. Now, back to you in studio.
Thank you, Kevin, and I know he'll have the latest for you later on in CVM News at 7. Even in disagreements, the rules of the House must be maintained. That's the word from Leader of Government Business Floyd Green this afternoon as the scenes inside the House of Representatives on Tuesday continue to raise questions about the conduct of members of Parliament and the health of Jamaica's parliamentary democracy. Opposition members protested after the Integrity Commission's latest annual report was not tabled. The Leader of Government Business in the House was speaking on CVM's Lead Story on Thursday.
The rules of the House clearly say that on matters that are not provided for, the Speaker is the authority. So if the Speaker gives a ruling, for example, if you stand to say, I want to make an intervention or an announcement, and the Speaker says, no, you cannot intervene on an announcement, that's the end of the argument. So to then go on to try and prevent the House from conducting its lawful business, for starting to bang the desk and shouting we must be heard, that is not in keeping with our parliamentary standards or with the decorum that people expect us as parliamentarians to exhibit. That is really taking it outside of the realm. It's going into the realm of disrespect, and it's going into the realm of setting a bad example for those who watch on and say, okay, because you did not get your way, then you're going to create an obstruction, and that should never be the case.
Meanwhile, opposition Senator Cleveland Tomlinson says the government has been propagating a narrative that the opposition is being deliberate in obstructing the conduct of parliamentary procedures. Also speaking on CVM's Lead Story Thursday evening, the opposition senator says the House Speaker is being deliberate in silencing opposition members.
The Speaker of the House has managed the proceedings of the Parliament with a very clear partisan vulgarity. And notwithstanding the standing orders providing her with a degree of latitude to make pronouncements on matters that are not accounted for in the standing orders, we believe that a Speaker's role requires her or him to operate with a degree of impartiality and fairness, and I don't think that we see that coming from the Speaker of the House. In fact, one of the major challenges arose yesterday, how I understand it, was with respect to the Integrity Commission report. I understand that our opposition leader of opposition business rose on a procedural matter indicating that he wants to query why the Integrity Commission's report was not included in the order paper that will be tabled in the Parliament on that day. And coming out of a dispute arising from that issue, then the opposition felt that it was necessary to demonstrate that they too, notwithstanding being on the opposition side, should be treated with a degree of fairness.
To other news now, following the Institute for Economics and Peace's IEP Global Peace Index, in which Jamaica topped the region as the most peaceful nation, Senator Marlon Morgan welcomes the move as a sign that Jamaica is headed in the right direction. Senator Morgan asserted that based on the work the wholeness-led government has been putting into making Jamaica safer and more peaceful, the people should be sure to maintain the country's standing.
Every patriotic Jamaican should be delighted and feel encouraged that a highly esteemed international think tank like the IEP has ranked Jamaica in the manner that reflects the strategic, practical, and measurable steps the government has been taking to improve national security and foster peace. A safer and more peaceful Jamaica will redound to our benefit in terms of productivity, doing business, foreign direct investments, and tourism.
Morgan, however, stressed that while the government acknowledges this as a means of encouragement, they have much more work to do for the Jamaican people to feel much safer and ensure economic growth.
We are on the right path and undeniably on a path that bodes well for us in our pursuit of increased economic growth, higher paying jobs, improved quality of life, and greater social cohesion.
Now, the index, which ranks 163 independent countries covering 99.7% of the world's population, also places Jamaica as the third most peaceful nation in North and Central America. 2 people are now homeless after an early morning fire on Love Lane in Montego Bay, St. James, Friday morning. It's understood that the quick response from the Montego Bay Fire Department prevented the blaze from spreading to nearby houses. Now, investigators are still working to determine the cause of the fire. Meanwhile, in neighboring Falmouth, Trelawney, investigators are still working to determine the cause of the massive fire that destroyed several businesses along sections of King Street on Tuesday. But even as investigations continue, at least one of the affected business operators says he's now moving quickly to repair the damage and reopen his store.
It has been a tremendous loss, but the focus now is to serve the needs of the hundreds of parents who depend on us annually for their back-to-school needs, particular fabrics. We are one of the only store in Trelawney that sells a wide variety of school materials. So right now that's our main focus, to provide materials for these students. At the moment, we have identified a location next door, and we are right now, as we speak, in refurbishing that building, and come Saturday morning we'll be up and running. We'll be open for the parents to come in and buy their uniform.
It's time now for a break. News at Noon continues in a moment.
Fan Central goes into extra time for 39 days right throughout FIFA's Showpiece tournament. With a Pepsi in hand, of course. Catch the playbook with a tactical breakdown from our expert coaches. Come sit in our fan corner where you have your say on the day's action. Fame or shame? Who were the best or worst players of the day? And have a laugh as we share some of the best reactions on social media. After the final whistle, it's extra time. Fan Central Extra Time. 8 p.m. daily with 10 p.m. shows on select days where there are 8 p.m. match kickoffs.
Fan Central Extra Time is brought to you by the Pepsi Football Nation, where fans make the rules. Football, better with Pepsi.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction, 'cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people that I say we are mash up the night. Oh, what a feeling, don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. Opposition spokesperson on gender affairs, persons with disabilities and the elderly, Denise Daly, is calling for the immediate review of Jamaica's Disabilities Act and significant new investment to improve accessibility, disability assessment and inclusive education. Making her contribution to the sectoral debate, MP Daly said the legislation represents an important milestone, but warned that implementation has stalled. She also highlighted lengthy delays in disability assessments for children, describing cases where children have lost years of educational opportunities while waiting for evaluations. Now, the call spokesperson Daly made is urging lawmakers to ensure that policy debates remain grounded in compassion and respect for human dignity. Joining us now to discuss how these policy decisions affect the community is Senator and Professor at the University of the West Indies, Dr. Floyd Morris, who is also Director of the Center for Disability Studies. Good afternoon, Sir Morris. Sir Morris, are you here with us? All right, we're also going to be joined by Legal Officer for the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, Travis Ibanks. Sir Ibanks, are you here with us?
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, so we don't have Professor yet on call, but he is expected to join us shortly. But Sir Banks, talk to me. First of all, your reaction to MP Daly's presentation in Parliament.
Well, I do understand the point made by the opposition spokesperson. The JCPD, and I will touch on the issue of audit, the JCPD through its Access Compliance and Investigation Unit has been conducting audit on government facilities. And I would just like to mention in particular that even the very Parliament was highlighted by the Speaker as to one of the facilities that was actually audited by the JCPD. The Speaker of the House of Parliament, the Honourable Juliet Holness, would have even referenced that said report in her opening remarks at this year Parliamentary, the beginning of the Parliamentary year. So we have been conducting several audits of government facilities. The Parliament building is just one. We have conducted audits on the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, both their offices at Hero Circle and North Street. Not only that, we have also audited the UA main library, which goes to show it's not just government facilities alone. The tax administration building in Crossroad has been audited by the JCPD, and there are several other facilities that have been audited by the JCPD, to include the Ministry of Education on Hero Circle. And what we have also realize is that these audit reports, when they are produced and shared with the institution themselves, are actually being followed. And we have seen where, for example, the Ministry of Education has actually implemented some of the recommendations highlighted in some of the audit reports that we have conducted.
Have you received any reports or seeing where children with disabilities are not being able to afford proper accessibility?
Well, as a council with responsibility in that regard, we have received complaints from parents and caregivers encountering challenges having their pupil or their child at ward attend the institution, and the council would have made representation. Last year, especially around the time period leading back to school, we do see a greater increase of those complaints, and we have made representation and have actually secured places for students in our public institution. So we have seen complaints, we have gotten complaints, and we have acted upon them to ensure that they also realize the full benefits of the act.
All right, so Dr. Floyd Morris, I understand, is now with us. Let me come right to you, Dr. Morris. Now, during MP Daly's presentation, she mentioned that the act review should have been completed by February 2025. We're now in 2026. We're not seeing or hearing anything of it. In your opinion, what are some things that could be causing this delay that we're seeing? Not hearing you, Sir Morris. Are you here with us? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am hearing you.
Yes, I can hear you now. Perfect.
Okay, good. So I am saying that the act is under the domicile of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And it is the Minister of Labor and Social Security that should trigger that review of Section 48, I think it is, of the Act. Specifically state the time frame, 3 years after it comes into effect, that the legislation should be reviewed. And a joint select committee should have been established from last year. I don't know what is it that has caused this delay, because the minister is aware. I have spoken about it in the parliament, and it has been brought to the minister's attention. So I can't understand why it is that this matter has not been activated.
Dr. Morris, MP Daly proposed that Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities undertake some sort of comprehensive accessibility audits of all government buildings, with each ministry and public agency required to publish accessibility improvement plans before the end of the financial year. What are some transformative ways to conduct these audits? Do you think the council have the adequate resources?
I don't think the council has the resources, but the council has established accessibility standards. And also, the Bureau of Standards, from an information standpoint, have also established accessibility standards for their websites and so forth. And both have to work together. So, you know, once the companies or the organization have access to these standards, they can use them to fashion and shape the accessibility for their institution. But you know what Denise wanted is to get an overall sense, a national sense, as to what is taking place in terms of accessibility. I am aware of the JCPD conducting some audits. It might have been from a small sample, but it is a start. They have to accelerate that. And remember that when you do research, you do a sample. I mean, I pointed out to the JCPD that the sample was small, and they need to expand that to cover all the parishes and a broader spectrum of governmental and non-governmental organizations. Because the truth is, you know, I have always pointed out that accessibility is a fundamental right. And if it is that a building is offering a service to the public, an organization is offering a service to the public, and they do not have the facilities to accommodate persons with disabilities under disability law, that is seen as an act of discrimination, because once you open your facility to the public, it must be accessible to persons with disabilities as those without a disability.
So infrastructure is one part of the conversation. Mr. Banks, spokesperson Daly also addressed shortages of specialized professionals. Why it is that you think there are so many Jamaicans who are hesitant to pursue careers in disability assessment and assistance? And what, if anything, can we do to encourage them?
Well, I do believe that would fall within the purview of the institution. I don't believe there is much opportunities in Jamaica beyond the Disability Center at the university. But I don't believe there is much opportunities in Jamaica for a person to actually immerse themselves into that area of specialization. So I think really we more so for institutions to hear the call and offer courses, programs geared towards this area. In fact, there's not many institutions internationally that actually offers degree or specialization in disability study. Yeah.
And let me ask you, yes, sir, Morris, you can come in.
Let me just correct that. There is a lot of institutions globally that do offer courses and training in disability studies. I mean, there's all over the United States and Canada and Europe, you find these institutions. But also, there is scope for persons to be trained in Jamaica in different disability fields. What happens is that the salaries, the remuneration here are very low, and so once individuals get training, they look to the metropole, they look to the north, where they can get better compensation for their work. So, for example, social workers, a lot of social workers have been trained, and at the University of the West Indies, there is a course in social studies that deals with disability studies. The students have to do that. But, well, there has been reforms to the salary for social workers recently, so let us see what happens with that. But the trend has been that once they get the training, they head to the north.
Let me put this question to both of you as we wrap up. What would you want to see different about the provisions that are currently in place for persons with disabilities? Starting with you, Mr. Ebanks.
Well, the JCPD for the past over the year has been undertaking consultation with our stakeholders. There are several recommendations which we have received, and we do hope that once the Joint Select Committee of Parliament is established, that we'll be able to put forward those recommendations, and hopefully they can be incorporated into the legislation itself. But we envision whereby the act itself will call for greater enforcement, so that persons with disability can make their complaint. The JCPD also can carry enforcement action against entities, individuals, and organizations in breach, and also that incentives based on reviews that we have done from stakeholders, that incentives can be provided in some way, some shape or form to entities that actually onboard persons with disability. And so we hope that this review process, once completed and once initiated and completed, will be more inclusive and lend greater to the cause of persons with disability, so that they can realize their full potential under the legislation.
Dr. Morris?
Well, there's a number of things that will have to be done in terms of reform to the legislation. We have to make sure that the legislation is brought fully in sync with the CRPD committee recommendations as stipulated in the concluding observation. And that entails things like making sure that the definition of persons with disabilities is brought in line with the CRPD. We have to look, and I agree with Travis, that we have to put in place incentives to employers to take on board more persons with disabilities. We have to outline a regime for how we treat with assistive technologies for persons with disabilities, because if persons with disabilities are to be meaningfully included in the society on an equal basis with others, the provision of assistive technology, which is a right now under the CRPD, persons with disabilities have to gain access to these, in order to bridge the digital divide and to make sure that these individuals are able to communicate more effectively.
All right.
And there are a number of other things that we have to look at, to modernize the legislation.
All right. Thank you so much, Travis Banks, Dr. Floyd Morris. Travis Banks is the...
May I just make one quick plug
Yes,
for
sir.
the legislation?
Yes, sir, Morris.
Because the law establishes the Disability Rights Tribunal. And this is a unique feature in the law. And I think persons with disabilities need to be aware of how they can get their rights recognized and enforced by complaining to the JCPD if they have a problem, and JCPD will investigate the matter, and they have the option of sending it to alternate dispute resolution or to the Disability Rights Tribunal, who will make a ruling that is binding in law. And that is how we are going to change how persons with disabilities are seen and treated in the society in modern times.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Floyd Morris, Opposition Senator and Director of the Center for Disability Studies, and before him, Travis Banks, who is the Legal Officer at the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. Thank you so much again, both of you, gentlemen, for sharing with us this afternoon. Let's go now to a break. Stay with us. Sports.